continue with our AC series, and today we arrive at Article 14, which is entitled Order in the Church. And it's really short. It reads, "It is taught among us that nobody should publicly teach or preach or administer the sacraments in the church without a regular call." Sadly, as short as this article is, it has probably been a very contested article. But let's look at the glass half full and the benefits of this article of faith. And it references Ephesians chapter 4, verses 11 through 13, about how God gives some to be apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, some pastors and teachers, and on. We have various gifts. And what's helpful about this, in terms of without a regular call, that's kind of the main thing, is it's up to the congregation to call someone to teach, preach, and administer the sacraments publicly on the church's behalf. And so a church could vet this person and determine to call anyone, really. In the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, though, the practice is generally one has to have graduated with or through one of the two LCMS seminaries. Now, there are other seminaries around the world where somebody could colloquize, but let's just stick with the U.S. You would graduate, and the church would then assume, right, that the LCMS approves of your being graduating from seminary, meeting all the requirements, getting the preaching certification, and all of these things that one gets in the seminary. You've done a vicarage, you've been at a church, you've been tested for a year and worked there. And so there's a vetting process that the church, local church, trusts, and then you're rostered after your first call in the LCMS. And so this is a way to help protect churches against somebody whose theology is contradictory to the scriptures and being called to serve in a church, and then all of a sudden there being a division over doctrinal teaching, which could arise even if they go about this rightly and call a graduate of one of our seminaries. They could still become heretical at some point or some level. And so this is something that we take great comfort in, is that the church calls us to teach, preach, and administer the sacraments on their behalf. And another big part of this is the church gives you a sense of authority to use the Word of God as a rule and norm in their lives and over them as God's representative. As you can imagine, it would be weird to start a church or place myself over them and speak to them spiritually with authority on some way when they've not asked me to do that. Okay, so also an advice for pastors on social media. Maybe you ought to be careful about who you try to speak with spiritual authority to, because good chance most of your followers haven't called you to be their pastor or to be their spiritual voice. Can you speak to God publicly? Yes, but you are not a shepherd to those who are not part of the fellowship that has called you. You're a theologian, and you can speak as a theologian. A little more on that maybe later down the road. Good article, short. Everything should be in good order. This is for the benefit of the church so that they aren't led by somebody that would not do well by the congregation, or someone who might have not been vetted theologically. Peace.